Card King, here I come. Hello, sports fans, sports collectors, and all hobbyists. Welcome to the Card King Sports and Variety Show. I'm your host, the Catman, Brian Cataquet, a.k.a. the Card King. We are live on ABC's KMET 1490 AM.com, your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. I thank everyone for tuning in this morning. On the telephone line, I welcome to the program former Major League infielder, member of the 85 Kansas City Royals World Series champion team, and author. We welcome in Greg Pryor. Greg, Brian C., thanks for being on this morning.
Hey, Brian. It's great to be here and talking to sports fans, collectors all across the country, and it's a thrill to relive some things about my career with you, and I'm looking forward to the next few minutes.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I want to begin, Greg. Growing up in Ohio, 1950s, you got a chance to see those Cleveland Indian players like Vic Power, Leon Wagner, Rocky Colavito, who you admired. When you look back then, did you have dreams of becoming like one of these major leaguers one day?
No dreams of ever being in the big leagues. And, in fact, when I was in Little League in Akron, Ohio, I would collect baseball cards and put like 12 of them on my bicycle spokes with a clothespin in the back, and this ruined my college tuition, because I know these cards are worth so much money now. I mean, I had a lot of Virgil Trucks' cards. It was so cool, but just look back at those days, and I wish somebody had taken me and said, hey, put these cards away. They're going to be worth something someday. But no, I never had any desire, or I had a desire to play baseball, but I never thought it was never a dream for me to play in the big leagues, because I went to watch the Yankees Indians play in a doubleheader in Lakefront Stadium, probably 1960 or right around there. And I was amazed at how big that stadium was, 80,000 seats. It's obviously not there now, but I went back there in 1978 as a rookie with the Chicago White Sox, and it was a great thrill to be on the same field as Jimmy Brown when he ran for the Cleveland Browns, and Vic Power, and all those great the Cleveland Indians heroes that I had back in the day.
Now, interesting story, Greg, which you share on your website, GregoryPryor.com. Give us the story. Your dad bribed the head coach of FSC to give you a scholarship. Is that what happened?
Yeah, my dad was a high school math teacher and a coach, and had 6 kids. And we went to high school. I went to high school in Orlando, Florida, and when I graduated, I wasn't drafted, and I had no scholarship offers. And I said to Dad, what am I going to do? Well, luckily for me, I had an older brother, Jeff, that was one of the best high school pitchers in Florida in 1966. Jeff got the first 4-year scholarship to Florida Southern College in Lakeland. When he graduated, I was still in high school, and he went 8-0 his freshman year. So my dad drove down to Lakeland to talk to Coach Smeltsley there at Florida Southern, and behind my back, I had no idea he was doing this, Brian. He says, hey, either you take my little boy, Greg, in your school, or my big boy's coming out of your school. So I go to college thinking that they wanted me. I got a small scholarship, $250, I think. And that's how I got to college, and I ended up being an All-American 2 years and signing with the Washington Senators back in 71 and playing 16 years of pro ball.
Well, that's what I want to say, because here's the paradox to that question that I asked, because at FSC, looking at your stats from 68 to 71, I mean, you hit 333, 118 RBIs. You're 2-time All-American player, 69 and 70, hitting 418 in 1970 with 54 RBIs. I mean, did your dad even have to bribe the coach? You were that good.
No, but if
you know what I mean?
Brian, if people want to go and see what I did my freshman and sophomore year at Florida Southern, it's on the internet. If you go to floridasouthern.org or something like that, edu, whatever, Florida Southern College in Lakeland. I hit 200 as a freshman and 200 as a sophomore. I don't know what happened to me. I got inspired to learn how to hit, and I used to drag the batting machine to the cage and hit by myself for hours, and until I got more confidence, and it just took a lot of work, and I think I had it mentally that I could improve, and obviously I did, but in my book I explained how hard it was, because I was in the minor leagues for 7 years before Bill Beck gave me a chance in Comiskey Park on the south side of Chicago in '78, and that's another story. It was kind of easy to get to the big leagues, Brian, but it was really a lot harder to stay there.
Amazing. 1971, big year for you. Drafted number 6 by the Senators, Ted Williams being the manager of the team that year. Take us back, if you can, to that year, your mindset going into that draft that year.
Well, I wasn't really people were telling me in college that I was going to get drafted, and I was like, well, yeah, we'll see. I didn't really know if I was going to get drafted or not. And in that draft in '71, two very familiar players that were drafted in the first round. I think first or second round was George Brett and Mike Schmidt, two of the greatest third basemen to ever play in the big leagues, were drafted in that same draft. George out of high school, and I think Mike Schmidt out of Michigan or Ohio. I don't know where Schmidt went to school, but anyway, I was in at the time of the draft. I was in Miami, Florida. And I was working out on the Pan American team with Fred Lynn and other college guys that were going to travel to play in the Pan American games. And I was so excited to get invited to the tryouts. And the day that Bobby Winkles was the coach of that Pan American team, and the day I got drafted, it was like somebody called me or whatever. I heard they say, "Hey Pryor, you just got drafted by the Senators in the 6th round." I'm thinking, "Wow, that sounds good." So the Senators called me. They offered me $10,000 to sign. So I go to Winkles and I said, "Mr. Winkles, Coach, I got a chance to sign a pro contract, but I really want to go to with you on this Pan American team, play second base." And he looked at me and he says, "Son, if you have a chance to play pro ball, you need to take advantage of it. I would advise you to go ahead and sign that contract." So that's how I signed. I wasn't really expecting to get drafted, but I was, and the rest is on the back of my rookie baseball card.
And something that comes to my mind, Greg, I mean, from 73 to 76, the entire structure of baseball changed radically regarding free agency. And you're definitely a player that was there. You're definitely a player that comes to mind. I mean, the whole structure changed. You come to mind because you were a Yankee farm player to a major league player with Chicago White Sox after the Yankees released you. And then in '84, because of the free agency, you were able to win a generous contract with the Royals. I mean, you're a player that comes to mind. Did you have nightless sleeps wondering what team you're going to play for?
Hey, Brian, you do your homework, and I've done a lot of interviews on the radio, but you are a very knowledgeable baseball man. That's your job, but I'm really impressed with your knowledge of the history of the game, because I came to baseball in the big leagues and pro ball at the perfect time. People say, "Hey, Greg, don't you wish you played now?" No, I don't really. I don't wish I played now, because life is to be enjoyed, and I've enjoyed my life in 16 years of pro ball. I enjoyed every minute of it. But back when I was in the minor leagues with the Rangers, there was no free agency. Free agency didn't really happen until after the '76 season, when they had the first draft. And that's when the arbitrator ruled in the favor of the players that if you play 6 years, you can move to another team that might want you more. And I was caught up in that groundswell of that basic agreement in '76. It's the Messerschmitt-McNally. It's the arbitrator Peter Seitz that caused me to be on this phone call with you right now, because without those guys, without those former players that did what they did, I wouldn't be talking to you, because I became a free agent. The Yankees traded for me in February of '77, and I went to Major League spring training with New York in Lauderdale. They traded for me, not knowing I could be a free agent after the '77 season. So I go to Syracuse, and Marvin Miller called me when I was playing up there, and I wasn't happy to go to Syracuse. That was my third year in AAA, and I was 28 years old, and Billy Martin didn't take me on the '77 Yankee team, and I was not happy about it. But I was called by Marvin Miller in Syracuse, and he said, "Greg, I just want to inform you that you're one of the few players that was brought up in the '76 season. They sent you back in June of '76, and you retain the rights of free agency. You can play your season out in Syracuse and become a free agent in November of '77. So the Yankees found out about that. They flew me to New York, and Steinbrenner face to face. I went over there for just some fun. I wasn't planning on signing with the Yankees because they had Greg Nettles and Bucky Dent and Willie Randolph. Well, where was I going to play? So I went over to New York to negotiate with Steinbrenner. He looked at me. He goes, "Look, son, we're going to give you a 2-year contract. It's going to be more than the minimum. We're going to call you up to the big leagues. You're going to have the Yankee name on your resume the rest of your life." And I said, "Mr. Steinbrenner," I said, "where do you plan on playing me?" And he kind of like didn't have a good answer for me because I couldn't beat those guys out. Those were great players that played on World Series winners in '77, '78 there in New York. So I said, "Look, sir," I said, "I think I can't sign. I'm going to go through the draft." And he called me a dumbass to my face. It's in my book. And, I went back to Syracuse. I played it out, and I signed with a 1-year contract with the White Sox in November of '77. Steve Greenberg, Hank Greenberg's son, was my agent. And I get to Chicago, and as I said, the rest is history. I played 10 years in the big leagues.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, if you're mentioning the word free agency, Greg Pryor comes to my mind. I mean, you were right there. No question about it. So 78, you're at the White Sox. Bob Lemon, was he the manager at the time?
Yeah, Bob Lemon, Hall of Famer. Yeah, I was so excited. Don Kessinger was on that team. I was so excited. Wilbur Wood, Bobby Bonds. I played with some great old-time players, and I was just one of those guys. I was nervous as hell because, at age 29, when you're a rookie at age 29, how many chances are you going to get? So Bob Lemon helped me become a more secure, mentally secure player. And I just got a little bit better each day, and all of a sudden, I played. I ended up playing 4 years with Chicago. I played for Lemon. I played for Lary Doby, who took over for Lemon. Lemon went to New York in '78 and took the Yankees back to the World Series after he left the White Sox. And then Doby took over for Lemon, and then Don Kessinger became my player manager after Doby. So I was playing second base, and my manager was playing shortstop. That was a lot of fun. And then, as everybody can remember here, Tony La Russa took over for Don Kessinger, and I played for La Russa 79, 80, and 81. And then in 82, I got traded to Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, you played for some great managers, La Russa, and also Dick Howser, who was like a father figure to you. Give us a few words on Dick Howser.
Dick Howser was a shortstop for the Cleveland Indians when he played. He was kind of like me in a way. I'm not saying I was better or worse. I really don't know what his career stats were, but he was an infielder, and he went to Florida State. I went to Florida Southern, and I met him in '77 in spring training with the Yankees, and I walked up to him. I hadn't really met him. I walked up to him, and I said, "Excuse me, Dick." I said, "I'm Greg Pryor. I'm here. I'm an infielder. I got invited to camp." And Billy Martin was not playing me in '77 spring training. And I said, "Well, why do you think Billy's not playing me this spring?" And he looked at me and he goes, "Well," he says, "Greg, I gave Billy Martin advice on one player in my life." And the guy dropped the first fly ball hit to him. And he said, "I'd never told Billy I never endorsed a player to Billy after that." He says, "If you want to know what Billy's thinking, just go talk to him." And I did not go talk to Billy because, I figured if Billy wanted to talk to me, he would talk to me. And then I get traded to Kansas City in spring of '82 after Howser had got fired by the Yankees in '81. After the '80 season, he got fired, and then he got hired to manage the Royals the last part of the '81 season. I show up with a week left of the '82 season, and I got acquainted with him, and he was the perfect manager for me at the time because I knew how to play infield. I played second, short, third, and first. And Dick Howser put me in pressure pack games. He trusted me. He respected my ability. And without Dick Howser, I wouldn't have played 5 years in Kansas City. So he's not here now, obviously, but he was one of the big keys to my success here in Kansas City.
Amazing. And Greg, two historic games that you were a part of in your career, the Brett Pine-Tar game and the Disco Demolition game. Take us back to each one. Give us how it was like being in those two experiences for you.
Well, as most of your listeners might know, Bill Beck, if they don't know about Bill Beck, they need to go read stuff about it. Bill Beck was like the Barnum and Bailey of baseball. He had all these promotions going on about before every game. He made it fun for the fans. And I love being in Comiskey Park, and the atmosphere was always great because the first All-Star game was in Comiskey Park back in 1933. So I was around Bill Beck. Well, one night we had this promotion between the games of a doubleheader with the Tigers. And a rock and roll station had communicated with Bill Beck's son, Mike Beck, to put a promotion on to blow up disco music because it was an anti-disco event that night. And, we were used to all the events that Bill put on, but this night was really different because, blowing up disco, I mean, I kind of like disco. I didn't want to blow it up. So if anybody that came to the game got in for a reduced rate if they brought a 33 and a third. That's an old record for you young fans listening. 33 and a third vinyl. They got in for a reduced price on their ticket. So 44,000 people showed up in the seventh inning of the first game. And I'm looking around at shortstop, and I'm looking at this stadium, and I said, I've never felt an aura. It wasn't a good aura. It was a rock and roll aura. They weren't there to watch the game. They were there to blow up disco music between games. So when they piled up all these records between the first and second game, I was in the clubhouse getting ready for the second game. I was going to play shortstop again, and the starting pitcher walked by me, Kenny Kravik, and I said, "Aren't you starting this game?" He goes, "Yeah," but he says, "I had to get out the field because the fans are rioting." He says, "You need to go look." So I get my pants on. I'm running down to go into the dugout to look at what's going on in the field, and all these fans are trying to storm our clubhouse. Our equipment manager was getting ready to beat up a bunch of hoodlums that were coming in our clubhouse with a bat, and I was right behind him. And I saw these kids trying to come in and take over our clubhouse, and he slammed the door shut. He put a bar over the door to keep them out, and we were prisoners for like an hour and a half. We didn't really see anything. We heard the police on horses right outside our clubhouse. We could hear the horses. They called in the mounted police to get rid of the fans because, it's on the internet. People can see the crowd. And unfortunately, we had to forfeit the second game to the Tigers. It was called because they tore the field up. It was nothing. The field was unplayable. So it was an unfortunate event. It got out of hand, and I think it's probably the only time that some of those people were ever in Comiskey Park.
Man, and also the George Brett game. How was your relationship with George Brett?
Well, when it's funny you say that because when I got traded to the Royals in the spring of '82, the equipment manager walked up and he goes, "Pryor," he says, "what number do you want?" I said, "I don't care." Well, somebody ran over and said, "Hey, Greg," they said, "take number 4." And I said, "Why?" They said, "Because you'll lock her next to George." And so I said, "Okay, give me number 4." Well, at the time, I really didn't like George too much because, we had rivalries between the Royals and the White Sox and Hal McRae and Amos Otis and, guys like that. Quisenberry. I didn't really like the Royals that much because they would kick our ass and laugh at us, right? So George walks up to me after I got traded, and it's the first time I've talked to him, the first time I ever met him, because he said, "Pryor," he goes, "when I got on second base or third base in Comiskey Park or Royal Stadium, how come you never wanted to say hi to me or talk to me?" I said, because George, I didn't like you one bit. I didn't like you guys at all. I didn't want to talk to none of you. And he started laughing. Here I am, a teammate, telling him I don't like him already, right? I just met him. And he goes, "Hey, do you like me now?" I said, "I love you now, George." So he and I, when he got hurt, I played third base. And fortunately for me, he got hurt quite a bit from 82, 83, 84, 85. 85, he didn't get hurt, and that's why we won the World Series. But I was able to play third base when George couldn't. I was able to play second base when Frank White couldn't. And it was a big challenge in my career, but George and I got along fantastic. It's an honor for me to sit here and tell you that I was able to replace a Hall of Famer for a living. Not that I did as well as he did, but in the big leagues, you can only play as good as your ability lets you. And I knew what I couldn't do, and that's why I played as long as I did. I just played within my means, and George certainly was a driving force for me to be a better player, and it was a thrill to be with him for the 5 years in Kansas City.
Yeah, and a final question on your playing career, and then we're going to get to your book. 1985, special year. You win the World Series. How was the camaraderie amongst the team members?
Well, that's a great question because, I got traded to Kansas City. I had never been in the playoffs before. When I got traded here in '82, there were 6 players on the All-Star team, on the team I went to. And there's a little bit different atmosphere when you get traded to a team like that because Amos Otis, who was the center fielder in the All-Star game in '82 in Montreal, he walks up to me and he goes, Pryor, it's a little bit different here in Kansas City. I said, what do you mean? He says, we're expected to win here. And that's all he said to me. I was like, holy crap, this guy's he didn't waste any words, So I got to play around some wonderful players who had been in the playoffs before. Everybody knows about how the Yankees and the Royals played in the playoffs and how the Oakland beat the Royals in the playoffs. So I get there, and there's a lot of scar tissue on players that had been in the playoffs but never. They got to the World Series in 1980 against the Phillies. But they had never won a World Series. So I was part of a group of guys that had experience in the playoffs. And in '84, we won our division. The Tigers beat us 3 games in a row, and then the Tigers, as you know, went on to beat the Padres in the World Series. And the next year, our general manager John Sherholtz made some of the greatest moves that a general manager could ever make to keep our team within striking distance in September. And we had Willie Wilson went down for like 3 weeks. Our star center fielder went down for 3 weeks, and Sherholtz went out and got Omar Marino, and he drove in 13 runs in September. So the moves that Sherholtz made really got us to a position where we beat the Angels for the title, the American League West, in the last week of the season. We were 1 or 2 games ahead or behind the last 2 weeks of September of '84. And then we played the Blue Jays in the American League Championship and beat them 4-3 after being down 3-1. We won 3 games in a row. We go against the Cardinals in the World Series. We got down 3-1. And as everybody knows, we won 3 games in a row, which was unheard of for a team to do that. And it was so exciting to watch it because we had a mixture of great veterans. We had some young pitching that nobody could hit. The Cardinals couldn't hit them in the World Series. I think they hit 180 as a team. That's why we won. Saberhagen, Gubazov, Danny Jackson, Quisenberry. I mean, we had a great staff, and we had great leadership. Jim Sundberg behind the plate, 6-time Gold Glover, handled the young pitching well, and we had a manager that had the wheel of the team, and he knew what to do, and it was just a great experience, and I'm just happy that I was just a little part of it.
Fascinating team. GregoryPryor.com is the website. Tell us about your new book.
Well, it's a book that my daughter's. I had like 100 stories about my experiences in baseball, and I decided to pick 27 that I thought fans might want to read. So the name of my book is "The Day the Yankees Made Me Shave," and that's the story in the book. And it's 27 stories about situations that happened to me that fans have read the book, tell me that they really enjoyed my stories. And, stories like the day George Brett borrowed my bat. George borrowed my bat one time to get his 2000th hit. And it's the only time in 5 years he ever borrowed my bat. And I'm thinking, why do you want to borrow my bat? So he broke the bat, and he after the game, he autographed it to me. It's one of my prized collections, George Brett's 2000th hit bat. So it's stories like that happened to me, but it was only because I was in certain circumstances. I talk about the Pine Tar game. I talk about disco demolition. I talk about the World Series. So GregoryPryor.com, and people can order my book. I'll ship it out and sign it for them.
And how come you chose that title, Greg, The Day the Yankees Made Me Shave?
Well, I'll try to speed this up.
We have a couple of minutes left.
I got traded to the Yankees in February '77, and I go to spring training with a mustache, and I look around, and there's Thurman with a mustache. There's Reggie with a mustache. There's Catfish with a mustache, and I'm thinking, hey, I got a mustache too. Well, when the Yankees sent me to AAA Syracuse at the end of spring training, the farm director says, Pryor, you'll need to shave your mustache before you report to the Syracuse team. I said, why? He goes, because minor leaguers can't grow mustaches. Well, I was not happy that the Yankees traded for me and never gave me a chance to make that '77 team. So I told the manager of my AAA team, Pete Ward, I said, look, Pete, I said, I don't want to be here. I want traded. I want a release because, 28 in AAA with the Yankees, what are my chances, right? So I go to Syracuse, and I got all the guys in a room, all my teammates, and I said, guys, I'm trying to get traded. I said, I'm going to grow a mustache, and I need your support. How many of you guys think you're man enough to grow a mustache like Thurman Munson? And they all raised their hands, And I said, well, sign the paper. So I took the paper into the manager's office, and I said, hey, Pete, we're all growing mustaches. And he looked at me, he called me names. He says, Pryor, you're making me look bad. And I've got to report this to the Yankees. So I said, Pete, just tell them to trade me, and it'll be the easy way to get out of here because I'm not going to shave. They can release me. I don't care. So after 3 weeks of me growing my mustache against Steinbrenner's rules, Pete had a meeting after a game in Pawtucket, and he said Steinbrenner has relaxed the rule. All minor league players can grow mustaches now, and all the players on the team were patting me on the back, telling me I was a hero. But Brian, I was still broke. I was still 28, and I was still in AAA. But I had a measly old mustache going, right? So it didn't work for me to get traded. But that's why I called my book "The Day the Yankees Made Me Shave," because sometimes there's players like me that come through that we're not shoe-ins to be successful, and we go through tough times, which I'm not complaining about. It's just fun things that happen to a marginal player that's needed in the big leagues for teams to win. Because I wasn't an all-star, but I was good enough to play for 10 years in the big leagues, and I organized the Mustache Revolt in Syracuse, and that's why I named my book "The Day the Yankees Made Me Shave."
Yeah, and Greg, the Yankees did the same thing to Oscar Gamble regarding his afro. They wanted him to trim his afro, so they were notorious for, shaving or trimming the afro.
Well, yeah. They made Mattingly cut his hair when Johnny Damon went over from the Red Sox to the Yankees. I think he had to trim like 6 inches off his long hair, and I'm saying to myself, I wouldn't have signed with the Yankees because I'm from the old school. I went to college in the '60s, and I think that the ability of a man to grow a mustache it should be his own. And Steinbrenner owns a team, and I think he wanted to do the same thing as the Yankees of old. If you look at the old Yankee pictures of back years, none of them had beards, none of them had long hair, none of them had mustaches. All of them were clean shaven, and that was the image back then. But the images can change, and I don't care. I don't particularly like long hair and beards, big long beards on baseball players, but look at the House of David. They had beards down to their waist, I think. So
yes.
It's just a Yankee rule, and I decided to take advantage of it, and it was just a fun part of my life. But I was able to end up growing, and it's so funny. My rookie card that's on my Topps rookie card. The background is Yankee Stadium, and I was with the White Sox, and I had my mustache. I get a kick out of looking at it.
Well, listen, I really appreciate it. The Day the Yankees Made Me Shave, GregoryPryor.com. I really appreciate your time this morning.
Brian, it's great to be with you, and hopefully we'll get the strike, the issues settled, and we'll have a great baseball season this year, and I look forward to hearing from fans if they want to get my book.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you so much. Until next week,
Brian.
happy collecting to all.